For some reason, Texas is just one of our favorite states. We love the open pastures, friendly people, and we've had some of our best experiences here. They also love to fly huge Texas and American flags, which just looks really cool. We stayed at the Magnolia RV Park, which we were a little surprised to learn has nothing to do with Chip and Joanna. Just clever marketing, I guess, for anyone who was coming to Waco. All right, we got our new map. We got to put it on, make us official RVers. After getting settled in, we decided it was time to christen the RV with one of these fun U.S. maps that help you keep track of all the states you've been to. I've always been a map guy, so this is something I was really excited to get done. Stuck on there. Just going to try to smooth the air bubbles out.
Finished product.
I think we got all the air bubbles out.
Yeah.
Just ready for some states.
Alright, new Mississippi.
We've been to 8 states already.
You enjoying the breeze, baby? Alright. Now we gotta smooth it out with the card.
The next day, we took a trip over to the Waco Mammoth National Monument. This was really an interesting exhibit and was just designated as a national monument in 2015. What made this a lot more interesting than just a museum is that you could view the actual dig site where archaeologists are still working to uncover new fossils and bones as they continue to excavate the property. The first fossils were found in 1978 by 2 men who were out looking for arrowheads at the time. As of now, the partial remains of 24 Columbian mammoths have been found, along with 2 camels and other miscellaneous animal bones as well. I may not agree with them on how old they say these items are, but it was still a very interesting exhibit. So we just came out of the Mammoth exhibit here at Mammoth National Park, and I mean, it was really interesting. What do you think, Brittany?
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So they've got a real dig site here. It's like the only mammoth dig site, I think well, certainly in the country, maybe in the world, where you can actually see the mammoth bones, where they were found originally. They're still excavating the site. They've been working on it for 20 years, and it was really a lot of interesting information. They found mammoth bones, camel bones, saber-toothed tiger tooth, all in the same area. So really, really interesting stuff. Our next stop was completely unplanned, but I think it turned out to be one of our best visits on the trip so far. Heritage Homestead. It all started when Misty saw a billboard on the interstate for a cheese cave. That sounded pretty interesting to us, so we decided to check it out. Turns out that the cheese made here at Brazos Valley Cheese is award-winning and some of the best in the country. Their cheeses have even been served at the White House. They have a very neat little shop with all sorts of cheeses available, as well as local honey, cutting boards, utensils, and a whole lot more. The samples were so good, we just had to have some for ourselves.
That was the prettiest cheese I've ever had. It was delicious. I think we should take some home.
After leaving the cheese store, we headed out to the cheese cave to see where the magic happens. That's where we met this guy, Kevin Durkin. Kevin just happened to be working outside near the cheese cave when we approached, and he started up a conversation with us. He was actually one of the founders of the Heritage Homestead, and his company, Heritage Restorations, had a hand in building almost all of the 20-plus buildings on the property. Turns out he also knows a lot about cheese.
Well, here we are at Brazos Valley Cheese in Central Texas. We're right outside our cheese cave, which is underground. And the thing is that down there it gives the cheeses a special flavor because there's all types of unusual molds growing in the cave. So it's very much different wherever your cave is. Like caves in Europe, that's where blue cheese comes from. Or brie comes from being in a cave that had molds in it that made blue or made brie. So we have cheeses aging here. It's typically 50 degrees and 85% humidity. When we age all kinds of hard cheeses up to 8 years in here. Take a look for yourself. So they may be in there 2 months to 2 years to 6 years, depending on what we're trying to achieve in the cheese. Cheese, like a cheddar, the longer it is, it gets sharper. So an extra aged cheddar, the proteins start to crystallize. Some cheeses, like all Parmesan, has to age at least 1 year to be called Parmesan. And we make a wide variety of cheeses, everything from brie to soft cheeses, to mozzarella, to cheddars, to all kinds of European cheeses.
It was pretty wild to see all that moldy cheese aging down in a cheese cave in the middle of Texas. After visiting the cheese cave, we realized that there was a lot more to the Heritage Homestead and Kevin Durkin than just cheese. You see, Kevin is also a TV star. He and Clint Hart from Fixer Upper fame worked together on Clint's show Restoration Road, which airs on the Magnolia Network. Kevin appeared with Clint in the majority of the episodes for seasons 1 through 4, and several of the buildings on the Heritage Homestead were actually featured on the show as well. The Mohawk Valley House was featured on season 1, episode 8, and it is amazing to see what Kevin and his team were able to do with this old colonial house from upstate New York that was originally built back in 1817. After disassembling this house piece by piece, Kevin's team then moved it to Waco, Texas, reassembled it, and completely remodeled it on the homestead. The attention to detail is unbelievable. Seeing it in person was just breathtaking. We especially loved the hand-carved and gold leaf painted stars that flank both sides of the front door. What was once an aging and rotting piece of history has now been fully restored to its original glory and turned into a multi-suite vacation rental on the property. The Mohawk Valley House was not the only building featured on the show. Season 2, Episode 3 featured the Waco Apple Cider Mill. This was also a colonial-era home that started its journey in upstate New York, before being relocated to the homestead and completely repurposed into a working apple cider mill in 2022. It is currently being used as a full-service restaurant called the Waco Waffle Company. The level of passion and vision that Kevin has for these projects is just inspiring. He is able to look at an old, abandoned, nondescript house that most people would just demolish and breathe new life back into it in such incredible ways. Not only did they fully restore this structure, but also built a fully operational water wheel using many of the original timbers from the house. They also created a small pond with a stone retaining wall to hold the water that is used to power the wheel. Absolutely incredible. At every turn, it seemed that the Homestead had even more to offer. They also have their own brand of coffee, which is sold in the on-site coffee shop called Heritage Coffee. While there, we were fortunate enough to meet with the roast master and founder of Salida del Sol Coffee Roasters, Ben Nickert. Ben actually owns the coffee plantation in Ecuador where the beans are grown before being shipped to Waco, where he oversees the roasting process for all the beans used at Heritage Coffee. We simply stopped by for a cup of coffee, but after striking up a conversation with Ben, he offered to give us a complete behind-the-scenes tour of the roasting facility. It was really interesting to learn about the process and how Ben and his team oversee every aspect from growing to shipping to roasting and brewing each cup at the Homestead. Next, it was off to visit the woodworking shop of Homestead Heritage Furniture, which is also located on the Homestead. It was an amazing experience as we were able to meet some of the craftsmen that work in the shop to build custom furniture pieces by hand using many of the same tools that were used over 100 years ago. While we were there, they were working on a custom dining table and chairs for a customer in town. It was like stepping back in time and seeing how things were made back in the 1800s, but it was actually still happening today right here in Waco. In addition to the restored colonial structures, coffee roaster, breakfast restaurant, and woodworking shop, the Heritage Homestead has its own working grits mill, blacksmith shop, fabric weaving operation, full-service award-winning restaurant, and much, much more. In fact, when the full-service restaurant burned down the day before Christmas Eve, all of the different on-site businesses and craftsmen pitched in to rebuild the more than 6,000 square foot restaurant in just 20 weeks. From a smoldering pile of rubble to a fully operational restaurant is nothing short of remarkable. Every dining chair, decorative light fixture, and booth seating was made by hand on the Homestead. What an unbelievable feat to pull off in such a short period of time. Just when we thought we had seen it all, we were given the opportunity to visit a working dairy farm on the property as well. They had just purchased a large group of baby ducks and chickens, and Brittany was in love. They also had a pretty neat portable chicken coop that is moved around the pasture to fertilize and aerate the soil. The hens produce an endless amount of fresh organic eggs each day, and we were able to purchase a couple dozen for ourselves. They have a herd of 15 dairy cows on the farm that are milked twice a day. We were there in the afternoon, so we were able to watch the second milking of the day. As with all other activities on the Homestead, so many people are willing to pitch in and help each other out and learn a different skill or trade along the way. We met Noah here, who is a 14-year-old from a neighboring family. He comes over each afternoon to perform the second milking of the day. He was such a personable young man, and it was awesome to see how willing he was to jump right in and help his neighbor at such a young age. The next day, we decided to take a quick trip to the Dr. Pepper Museum in town. We are big fans of Dr. Pepper in our house, so this is something we definitely wanted to do. It was pretty interesting to learn about the process of how Dr. Pepper came to be one of the most popular soft drinks in the U.S. The museum occupies the original building where Dr. Pepper was first bottled in 1891 and showcases the brand's evolution over the years. The soft drink was invented by a pharmacist named Charles Alderton and was sold in his pharmacy, which is why most of the early soda fountains were located in pharmacies. When the building was being converted into a museum, an old well was uncovered beneath the floor. When discovered, it was found to have been filled with broken and discarded Dr. Pepper bottles that had been damaged during the bottling process. They have installed a glass section over the floor as well, so you can walk across it and look down at the original brickwork from the early 1800s. One of the most interesting facts we learned while we were there is that Dr. Pepper was originally marketed as a health drink. Brittany sure would love it if that were actually true. One of the things that's been pretty challenging about this trip has been trying to keep the outside of the truck and camper clean. With our truck being a dually and the camper being so large, the normal sized car washes haven't really been an option. We decided it was time to take matters into our own hands, literally, and clean things up around here. This was a pretty big undertaking and not something that will be happening on a regular basis, that's for sure. But everybody pitched in and we got it done. Once we got everything cleaned up, it was time to pack it up and move out. So we're just leaving our stop in Waco, Texas. We stayed at Magnolia RV Park. It was a great stop for us. We had a lot of fun. Next stop is going to be in Wichita Falls, Texas, and we're going to go to our first cat scale this morning. I've been wanting to do this for a while just to make sure I know exactly how much we weigh empty. That way if we need to carry any water in the future, we know how much capacity we have. So pulled up on the scales now. I just need to make sure that my axles are on 3 different pads.
That's your number. Okay, great.
Well, I think we did that right. I guess we're about to find out. I think she said it's reading, so hopefully she's going to tell us to come inside here in just a minute. All right, we're good. So, first cat scale weight successful. You get this readout that tells you what your weight is on each of the 3 axles. So now we know as we move forward. I think that's good information to have.
It's good information.
With our new cat scale weight information in hand, we were on the road again, this time making our way north to Wichita Falls, Texas, on our way to Amarillo and then on towards New Mexico and Arizona. See you next time.